Nambal ke sama lola ya some distillation issue yin taring ye don ni search da ba tu pe se ju gu result ha pe ge ning dire taring ke le je seron na ke le zin di nang taring sugar daram sal ru u phi me dik zu ne ari chö zo ki chu du gu zo su jung la ga su shung de ji gu to pen de se gyong pen pa sri cho ki ngo de sung she na ba de sham la si si yong ba shu
Subsidiary to be say Choguni Sugar Taram Saletic Jane Tuning Tula Kangi Sungche Ravena Pimi Tigzune Amerige Chesogi Chedu Kutab Sojung La Cheduki Gasu Shungje Zero Unzu Shui Tade Chedu Kutab Sojung Dina Ari Cheso Mechinde Ledon Sogjungi Sozu Kusha Michael McCall Chogi Niti Wo Amerige Cheso Ome Sozu Subatan Tada Cheso Ome Tumi Leto Jamku Nancy Pelosi Cho Cheso Ome Tumi Jamku Marionette Miller Meeks Cheso Ome Tumi Kushab Gregory Mix, Chozo Ome Tumi, Jamku Nicole Maliotakis, Chozo Ome Tumi Kushab Jim McGovern Chota, Chozo Ome Tumi Kushab Ami Bera Choche, Amerike Chozo Ome Mangzoda, Jitun Tobaniga Le, Tumi Duintang Konangbe, Namita, Chagro Leje, Arishungsab Kangi, Leje Je Peye. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Central Tibetan Administration is hosting this public felicitation today, June 16, 2024, in honor of the United States Bipartisan Congressional Delegations visit to Dharamshala, led by the Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Michael McCall. The 7-member delegation consists of Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, Representative Marionette Miller Meeks, House Veterans Affairs Committee, Representative Gregory Meeks, Ranking Member, House Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Nicole Maliotakis, House Ways and Means Committee, Representative Jim McGovern, House Rules Committee, Representative Ami Bera, House Foreign Affairs Committee. We also have their family members, staffers, medical provider, military escorts, and officials from the United States Embassy joining us today. Kasushurona. Zerunzugi Tongma Tsangma Kusheng to Benden Sigyon Chone Pö Gegab Chembe Gather Kayin Su Tingzu Nanga Pö da Gaga Gegab Gelubugyu. Please rise for the Tibetan National Anthem and Indian National Anthem as Honorable Sigyon hoists the Tibetan National Flag. I request Honorable Sikyong to introduce and welcome the delegation.
Samlola Samlo testle shwe Tatari Sugar Taramsalalia Amerigagi Trezo Omegi Chedu Kuzab Sojung de Shapsoko Yore and Kuzab Sojung Tinde Kodu Shube Kabla Tao Mangbo Korgu Yore Ngara Transit Shavina Yedon Chuptun Gichin Gabe Nania and a Chamku Nancy Pelosi 갑디두 조조 오메기 초조인배 갑라 아니 최대 구접 소중 덴데 유튜브 중요하래 다 트위터에 진이 단답아도 아메리게기 최조 뭐네 구접 소중 뭐 더네 아니 집이나야디 니돈 죽드네 진이 다 단답아도 시베이나 로드식 독신 차들이요래 이인도 안타리 코나마츠데 패배야 대야 아니 아리 최조 나눠려야 침자르직 벽에 간요시에기 침자르다 디단 제니 저조 오메나리아 슈경에 조디 다른데 구접 소중기 고티 아니 저조 오메 친제 소중기 소조 마이클 맥콜 크란차기 요리 마이클 맥콜 크란차샤기나 I'm introducing you in Tibetan because you already know yourself. So I want the Tibetans to understand about you more. So I won't be speaking by saying bad things. It's all good things. So Michael McCall 그나 대가 표현이야 대것식 저식 첨부 요말때 이네 다른 팀자들단 대회 통해 아니 지든 소배기 진대 소종 소소인 배차네 팀자들이 신디디 짐 말고문다 컨설션 남으래데 이네 코나랑게 투겐 시체 조조 오면 나올이야 아니 팀자 되나야기 겐시니 다 단답도 조조 오메기 친제 소중당 아니 조조 오메기 현조 나놀이야 텐투버 중앙에 디 마이클 맥콜다 짐 맥가본 안타나 신체니 아니 그레거리 믹스 다른데 구접 소중 나나 패야 태양 미네의 강양식 고티 네의 샤다지 패요래 아니 마이클 맥콜 크란 조조 오메기 소중 소소이 메차네 고티지다 아니 저조 오메기 친제 소중 나로라 망주 소베기 고티디 아니 그레거리 믹스 차기열에 군인이 대 패체 패야되기 전된되기 간다 저조 오메 나로라 아니 소관 이게 근원에 잡조 연백이 나바데 숙청부 쇼식된 거 열애시니 디슈 마이클 맥콜 크란 단다 팀자 딜이야 잡조 채워 팀자 되야리야 갱케와 점도 마임베게 니동 줄로라 진호 콘스장고 주무초라 아리 저조게 서기 땅마 비셰지야 디기 팀잔졸레 잡조 나요 레시니 디직 냐산 슈베토네 Can we welcome Michael McCall to Dharamsala for leading this delegation? Then we also have Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. 소주 수바 낸시 펠로시 저 다른 대표 열에 공국권이야 당에 어저시다 슈고에 요마레 남아 상물로 천천버리 지동 고제 자주 잡든 로리야 진호 콘스장고 주무초기 아리 조조 나라 드라미 톱당게 소주 나라 시외 전쟁아 도난제베 qabla 탱 담보 제제 중원에 제네 다 단답하도 아니 표집에 자동게 체도 구제 시부 아니 잡조나야다 진호 콘스장고 주무초리야 그 게르기 두디 친구 요바 진제기 내단 샤디요레 대인도 단답하도 맞아 아리 조조나노 팀자 가르친 요바이네 전주기 나려야 아니 공기 람된다 야면나 냠슈 아니 우티 매바 자원이니 요마레 대인배 선장 정부 낸시 펠로시리아 아니 펩수기 참리데슬레시로나 전에 망주 소배기 친대 소중기 고티 그레거리 믹스 관도 치마이나 니돈 줄이야 진호 콘스장고 춤부초라 서기 생다 조조기 서기 생다 피야 게 쳔베기 단대 팀자들라 그레거리 믹스기 잡죠 매베이나 아니 조조 오면 안올이야 숨전이 영토에 가부차기 열에 다 단다 호랑이 잡죠 요발 때니 숨전이 마세베기 림바 당부들라 조조 투미 십제 숨주 소직 요베 나로네 갑티두 요베 나로네 아니 십제 숨주 소직 요베 나로네 아니 숨자 구주 고니기 잡조나야다 난디 제리아 조조게 ngo네 조조 공매기 식시의 튜버스웨기야 팀자태양 조조 투미 이게 있어고 나로네 숨전 있어고 나로네 아니 가서 쉽게 니슈서구 나로네 숨겨 구주 고지기 갑교나체 두신 터머리 딘 서머 그레그리 믹스처 대 해봐들래야 아니 감리토스테션 드네 조조팀이 짐 메가본 당한조 표백이 레든 칸디도 지메이네 코랑기 갑교 메바디 짜지네 요마리 jamgu Nancy Pelosi ku de du yore Quran ko notice chunga yembe sonza jozo ome nalia mangzu sobe gi maomba pöden gi leden chejo gi ge yongzo di jamgu Nancy Pelosi gi jim megawon lia nang gi yore en tanda bodo jimja 개체 숨기 jimja döngeng gi jabyo nang di ani jim megawon cha di yore en kasu shiro na shwe Tene jozo tumi Emibera California nere Quran tanda chile sojunal yore chile sojunal yoba 점도 마인베기 tanda 팀자디게 사말이야 잡조 쉬야다 안타린 탱탕보 담살이야 자리야 고급 두신 충벌이 Quran 제가 야가래 구자rat 내레샤 아니 제가 아리 미세치니 다 tanda 캘리포니아네 아리 조zo 그 투미체니 chile 소중 소매다 안타린 소중디 핸도 아니 에미베라초 페바딜리아 삼비슈라나 디네 조조 투미 니콜 말리오타키스 뉴욕 내리 낭초를 도나용에 지다 단다 조조 투미 나로네 공로 충어지 차기 열이 지된 수백이 조조 투미체 안 단다 표준리아 도나나니 조조난 렘니시라 루메베 선장 레바네 체제 표준이야 도난 체제 엔 단다버도 심자 상물로야 잡존나요레 아니 니콜 말레토키스라 선두슈라나 디네 조조 팀이 아이오와네 임바 메리넷 밀러 믹스 크라 다른 담살이야 페아 탱 당고레 이네 속중나리아 차례난고 좀전 때니 표준꼴이야 고도 가락한삼 요르데 이네 단대 표준꼴이야 고도 숙체로 드래그체도 안타니 구접 소중기 생겨야 디페어 선장 마리넷 밀러 믹스라 안에 배수 주로나 Then I also want to welcome the four bosses of the delegates here, the spouses of the delegates. konzoda sanda shi peyore ani sanda digedi namju mijigi da chogajimen suimbaine chalena bekabli dumde tyonggoguina ani sayadi jabjo mewal zawani yoayo mare tembe sonza I would welcome the spouses who are behind the success of all the leaders here. It's also my pleasure to welcome the staffers. Sometimes I wonder what would the leaders be doing without the staffers. So it says, leje digedi America chozo naloliya jaga nedan jagumare leje so genchimbushda yore ani leje sogi ani godi soliya chale kharenang go yomedan disu samolo nyamship chiya dan gyabjong lega sanglo leje so nang yore. So the staff members are very, very important component of our legislative work, supporting the leaders here. So I extend a very warm welcome to the staff members. Then we also have quite a number of staffers from the U.S. Embassy in Delhi. Jagaliya tenshi chebega America shungzobki leje kachik tarin konsul hengele pe yore. And the Tajinaya dan dige samaloliya. Ani konamasu charo mamunaya we sonzang konamasule ani kasugi chamdishuayi. So I'm done with the introduction right now, but I would, since this is a very rare occasion for us, all of us from the Central Tibetan Administration, whether it's from the Supreme Justice Commission or the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, ministers, the independent bodies, all the public here, the students from our schools have gathered here to thank the delegates led by Michael McCall for their tenacity and commitment to move the Tibet Resolve Act in the US Congress. I also want to acknowledge the contribution made by Richard Gere. I'm sure Michael McCall will watch for that. And Speaker Pelosi, as always, Richard Gere ki thandapadong kanjo ege tozole ya shudu chebe kabla nga sigyong chache tema tu chimbre tema tu nanglo ne tema shi kora nyamdu henjar shuche ngajo nyamdu pungwa shishi cheche ani tozo nanglo ya shudu gi lengui pangu pe yore. And whenever Richard was in Washington, D.C., he always made it a point to meet with Speaker Pelosi and Michael McCall and all the leaders here. And I also want to acknowledge the presence of Tenjoy Gyazula, President of International Campaign for Tibet, and also Namgyela, representative of the Office of Tibet in Washington, D.C. ngazu dine tabju digi yore pemi digzu gi kasha gi ta chöche tabju dig shaba dige di ngosu lalen khelia ta sanel chale nange di ani geji phedu nangyung khangi zonjing denji chöden la re ta na shin chene ari työnju namjela da de leje samlogi kule mangu shuskyon yore tin samba khona ma soye thanin de phawa de la kasu shye Now, if I may speak a little bit about the Tibet Resolve Act, which is very, very important for us, and you have taken a lot of energy to get this through the House and through the Senate. I want to remind the public here that on November 26th of last year, in 2023, the House Foreign Affairs Committee passed this bill unanimously. And on February 15th of this year, the House passed it unanimously on the floor. And then again, it moved to the Senate. On April 16th of this year, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee unanimously approved that. And very recently, on 12th of this month, it got through the Senate floor. I think it is the hotline process because it moved very, very fast. A hotline is a process where you need unanimity of decision by the four corners, or the eight corners as they call it, the leaders of the Foreign Affairs Committee and the Foreign Relations Committee and the House and the Senate leaders. So you need consensus of all the leaders and not one objection from a single senator. And that's how it moved very fast. So I take this opportunity also to thank Senator Todd Young from the Republican side and Senator Jeff Merkley from the Democrat side for moving the bill in the Senate. And I also want to acknowledge the contribution made by Senator Cardin, who is the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate, who have been very, very instrumental in moving this in the manner that moved very smoothly and very fast. Now we are waiting for President Joe Biden to sign this into an act and make it into a law in the next few days. The reason why we decided to request the Congress to go for this position is that since I came into the administration, we decided that we will have to focus on the polarities. When His Holiness talks about the middle way policy, when we say middle, then there has to be recognition for polarities. And the polarities could be multidimensional, but in this case, the political polarity is one polarity is the present situation of Tibet under the repressive communist government, and the other polarity is the historical status of Tibet as an independent state. So this Tibet Resolve Act not only talks about the territory of Tibet and the right to self-determination of the Tibetan people, but it also talks about the US government having to counter China's false narrative on Tibetan history, its people, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So this is a very significant breakthrough in our movement, which will be a new tool in our hands to reach out to other governments around the world for them to be able to take similar positions like what the US Congress has done. And this, we believe, would be putting pressure on the Chinese government to come to the negotiating table. If there is no recognition to the polarities, there is no value to the middle way. To add value to the middle way, and we are very, very committed. I want to reiterate that the Central Tibetan administration is very, very committed to the middle way policy of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, but to gain traction for the middle way, to gain value for the middle way, to gain leverage for the middle way, it's very important that we get recognition of the polarities. So this is where we have reached, and I'm really very, very thankful to the Congressional leadership who are present here, and a vast majority of them who are back in the United States who support His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan cause. So thank you very much again for your presence here. We would love to hear each and every one of you, and this message of the US Congress should reach out to other governments, where I have also spoken with the State Department that once this becomes a law, then it's incumbent upon them to work with like-minded countries to make sure that similar resolutions or similar statements or similar laws are adopted in other nations. And we look forward to the leadership of the Congress also to take similar actions to convince other governments to adopt similar positions so that Chinese will come on the negotiating table. Our contention is that if and when the governments keep repeating this statement that Tibet is part of PRC, we keep telling these governments that you are going against international law. Whether it's happening to Ukraine today or whether it happened to Tibet more than 70 years ago, it is the same international law. We also tell governments that on the one hand, they keep repeating this statement that Tibet is part of PRC. On the other hand, they say we support negotiations between the representative of His Holiness Dalai Lama and the Chinese government. And I say you are contradicting yourself because you are removing the very ground for negotiations. When the whole international community keeps repeating this statement that at the behest of the Chinese government, that Tibet is part of PRC, then where is the reason for China to come and talk to us? And the third thing we tell the international community is, why do you think the Chinese government is asking every country to say that Tibet is part of PRC? Why not other regions or other nationalities within China? That is because the Chinese government knows that they have no legitimacy of their rule in Tibet. And they are trying to seek that legitimacy from the international community. Now, this Tibet Resolve Act, through this bill, through this act, when it's signed into law by President Biden, it will reinforce US position on countering China's false narrative on Tibetan history. And this will be a first. And this will be a leverage for the middle way for China to come on the negotiating table. So now I would request the Master of Ceremonies. We have arranged a cultural performance of children, which would be more emotional, I think, for the delegates here. And it'll be a 5 minutes performance, each by 3 different schools. And after that, we'll have the honoring of the delegates. And followed by that, we'll have speeches from every member of the delegate. So thank you very much. Samlog any chat chumbush dabro na konzol tuche shwechet. 당에 타마슈에디 아리 신진기 팀자들라 첸다 가두익견바이네 다산이나니 셰녀가 가두익견고 요바이네 디니무디 문에 전에 가서 베베지도 가와이 요바이네 가도체요 외베기 내단지 차기 요레신디 슈야이 도체
부채나 공수경